Run! The
Run
old man
for your
screamed
life!
as he stumbled through the forest, his
Don't
bare
look
feet
back!
tearing against sharp roots. Don't listen to it. Cover your ears. But it was already too late. Boom! The drum echoed once. A young hunter froze in the middle of the path. Boom! Boom! His eyes widened. I hear someone calling my name. No! The old man shouted, grabbing his arm. There is nobody there. The hunter slowly smiled. My mother. She's waiting for me. He pulled away. Step after step, he walked into the darkness between the ancient trees. The drum beat one final time. Then, silence. He was never seen again. If you're brave enough to hear what really happened in Umu Nnadi village, subscribe now. Because the stories hidden in African soil are darker than most people can imagine. No one spoke about the talking drum after sunset. Not because they had forgotten, but because they were terrified that speaking its name would make it answer. My name is Obi. Everything I am about to tell you happened when I was 19 years old. Many people called me a liar. Others refused to look me in the eyes after hearing my story. The elders simply lowered their heads and whispered, "The boy survived what no man should survive." I wish they were wrong. I truly do. Because surviving the curse was worse than disappearing. I grew up in Umu Nnadi, a quiet farming village surrounded by thick forests, older than memory itself. Our people respected the land. Every stream had a spirit. Every giant tree had a story. Every strange sound carried a warning. Children were taught never to whistle at night, never answer voices coming from the bush after sunset, and above all, never follow the sound of a drum that no one was playing. As children, we laughed at those stories. We believed they were invented to stop us from wandering too far into the forest. I was one of the loudest skeptics. Grandmother, I used to tease, if this drum is real, why has nobody brought it back? She never laughed. Instead, her face became pale. She looked toward the forest before replying. Because the drum doesn't need people to find it. It finds them. Her answer always irritated me. What kind of drum walks around? It doesn't walk, she whispered. It calls. Years passed. Life remained ordinary. The harvests came and went. Children grew into adults. Weddings filled the village square with laughter. The frightening stories slowly became nothing more than entertainment around evening fires. Until people began disappearing again. The first was a hunter named Dyke. He left before sunrise carrying his bow and hunting knife. He knew those forests better than anyone. By sunset, his hunting dogs returned alone. His bow was found leaning against a tree. Nothing else. No footprints. No blood. No struggle. It was as though the forest had swallowed him whole. The elders organized a search party. 3 days. Nothing. Not a single clue. His wife cried until her voice disappeared. His children waited every evening near the village entrance. He never returned. Everyone blamed wild animals. That explanation comforted us. At least lions and leopards made sense. The truth didn't. A week later, another person vanished. Then another, then another. This time it wasn't hunters. It was a woman gathering firewood, a young boy chasing goats, an old herbalist returning from the river. Different places, different times, one terrifying pattern. Every missing person had reportedly stopped moving moments before disappearing. Witnesses described the same strange behavior. They were listening to something. "What did you hear?" the elders asked. I couldn't hear anything, but they could. Fear spread through Umu Nnadi like wildfire. People stopped traveling alone. Children were forbidden from playing near the forest. Markets closed before sunset. Even laughter disappeared. One evening, I sat outside sharpening my farming tools when my closest friend, Chike, arrived. He looked exhausted. "You've heard?" "Heard what?" "My uncle is missing." I stood immediately. "What happened?" "He went to check his traps." "And?" "He never came back." I sighed. "Another animal attack?" Chike shook his head. "My cousin survived." That caught my attention. "Survived?" he said. Uncle Kenu suddenly smiled. Smiled? Then he said. Chike hesitated. He said he could hear drumming. A cold chill crawled across my back. Drumming? Nobody else heard it. I forced a laugh. Fear makes people imagine strange things. Chike didn't smile. You didn't see my cousin's face. He wasn't imagining anything. That night, I couldn't sleep. Grandmother sat near the cooking fire grinding herbs. Without looking at me, she spoke. You heard about the disappearances? Yes, they've started again. What has happened? The calling. I rolled my eyes. Grandmother. She suddenly slammed the wooden pestle onto the ground. The loud crack startled me. For once, stop pretending you're wiser than people who have buried generations. The anger in her voice shocked me. She rarely raised it. She took a slow breath before continuing. When I was your age, I heard that drum. My heartbeat slowed. You never told me that. I wanted to forget. What happened? She stared into the flames. My older brother heard it too. What did he do? He smiled. The same word. Smiled. He told us father was calling him. But your father was alive. I know. What happened next? Tears formed in her eyes. He walked into the forest. Did you follow? I tried. She wiped her cheeks. But the elders held me back. Why? They knew. Knew what? Anyone who follows never returns either. Silence swallowed the room. For the first time in my life, I wondered if every story she had ever told me was true. The next morning, the village square filled before sunrise. A messenger from a neighboring village had arrived. His clothes were muddy. His breathing was heavy. His eyes looked haunted. The village chief stepped forward. What brings you here? The man swallowed hard. It has crossed into our land. The entire crowd became silent. What crossed? The drum. Whispers spread instantly. No, it cannot be. The curse is back. The messenger continued. Our village has lost 12 people in 10 days. Someone gasped. Another woman fainted. The messenger raised trembling hands. They all said the same thing before they disappeared. The chief leaned closer. What did they say? The messenger's lips quivered. They said someone they loved was calling them home. The crowd erupted into terrified cries. Then, from somewhere beyond the trees, a single deep sound rolled across the wind. Boom. Every voice in the square died instantly. No one moved. No one breathed. I looked around. Did anyone hear that? Everyone stared toward the forest. Their faces had turned completely white. Then an old woman screamed at the top of her lungs. It has found us. The old woman's scream shattered whatever courage remained in the village square. It has found us, she cried again, falling to her knees. Mothers grabbed their children. Men who had stood proudly with spears only moments earlier slowly stepped backward. Nobody wanted to be the first to look toward the forest, but I did. The trees stood perfectly still. No wind, no birds, no insects, nothing. It was as though the entire forest had stopped breathing. The chief tightened his grip on his staff. Everyone, he shouted, forcing confidence into his trembling voice. Return to your homes. No one leaves the village until sunrise. Hunters, keep watch at every entrance. If anyone hears anything strange, do not follow it. Do you understand? A weak chorus of frightened voices answered him. I said, do you understand? Yes. People scattered within seconds. The marketplace, once full of life, became empty before the dust had settled. That evening, no cooking fires burned outside. No children laughed. Even the village dogs refused to bark. Inside our hut, grandmother sat silently, clutching the small carved wooden charm she had inherited from her own mother. I had never seen her pray so intensely. Grandmother, I whispered. She didn't answer. Do you really believe a drum can make people disappear? Her hands stopped moving. It doesn't make them disappear. I frowned. Then what does it do? She slowly looked at me. It invites them. Invite them where? I don't know. Nobody does. She lowered her voice until it was almost a whisper. That is what terrifies us. Just before midnight. Boom. The sound came again. Louder. Closer. My heart slammed against my chest. Grandmother's eyes flew open. Cover your ears. I obeyed without thinking. The sound rolled through the walls like distant thunder. Boom. Boom. Then, I heard it. Very faint. Obi. I froze. My hands slipped away from my ears. Someone had spoken my name. Softly. Lovingly. Exactly the way my late mother used to. Obi. I stopped breathing. No, that couldn't be. My mother died when I was 8 years old. I knew her voice, every word, every laugh, every lullaby. And this was her. Obi, I've missed you. Tears filled my eyes before I realized I was crying. Mother? Grandmother slapped my face so hard my head snapped sideways. Don't answer. I stared at her in shock. What are you doing? She grabbed both of my shoulders. Look at me. But, she called look at me. Her voice cut through the strange whisper. She forced my eyes toward hers. What did you hear? My mother. No, it was her. No, it sounded exactly like. It wasn't. She shook me violently. The drum never calls with its own voice. My blood ran cold. It borrows the voices you trust. The drumming stopped as suddenly as it had begun. Silence returned, but sleep never did. At dawn, the entire village awoke to another tragedy. One of the night guards was missing. His spear lay on the ground. His sandals remained beside the watchpost. There were footprints, only one set, leading toward the forest, none coming back. The chief closed his eyes. He heard it. No one argued. The elders gathered beneath the ancient Iroko tree before noon. Only a handful of younger men were invited. To my surprise, I was among them. As we sat in a circle, Elder Nuosu spoke first. My father warned me this day would come. Another elder nodded. We have ignored the old laws for too long. What laws? I asked. Several elders exchanged uneasy glances. The oldest among them sighed. Many generations ago, there was a royal drummer. A drummer? I asked. Yes. He was blessed beyond imagination. His music united kingdoms. It ended wars. It healed broken hearts. I leaned closer. What happened? The old man's face darkened. Greed. No one spoke. He wanted more than admiration. He wanted power. He believed that if every soul answered only to his drum, he would rule forever. Another elder continued the tale. He sought forbidden spirits, deep inside the sacred forest. They warned him. Music is meant to guide the living, they said, not command them. But he refused to listen. He demanded a drum that no one could resist. My stomach tightened. Did they give it to him? The elder nodded slowly. They cursed him, with exactly what he desired. The chief continued. The first time he played the drum, his own wife walked into the forest. He ran after her. She never returned. The second time, his children disappeared. He kept playing. By the 7th night, his entire kingdom had vanished. A heavy silence settled over us. What happened to the drummer? I asked. No one answered immediately. Finally, Elder Nuosu whispered, he disappeared with the last beat. And the drum? It was never destroyed, only hidden. I swallowed hard. So, if someone finds it, the elder looked directly into my eyes. It finds them first. As the meeting ended, Chike caught up with me. You don't actually believe those stories now, do you? I wanted to say no. Instead, I hesitated. I heard my mother's voice. His smile disappeared. So did my cousin. What? He heard his dead wife. We stood there in stunned silence. Finally, Chike whispered, What if? What if the voices are real? I shook my head. No, they're trying to trick us. But why? Neither of us had an answer. That afternoon, something happened that changed everything. A little girl wandered into the village crying. She couldn't have been older than 7. Her clothes were torn. Her feet were bleeding. The women rushed toward her. Child, where are your parents? She looked around in confusion. They followed the singing. The women exchanged frightened glances. What singing? The drum. One man knelt before her. Where is your village? She slowly raised her shaking hand. Toward the forest. There isn't one anymore. The chief's face turned pale. What do you mean? She burst into tears. They all left. Everyone, my father, my mother, my brothers, my grandmother. They kept smiling. They said people they loved were waiting. She began sobbing uncontrollably. I was the only one who covered my ears. No one in the square spoke. Even the air felt heavy. The child looked up one final time. It knows your village now. A cold shiver ran through every person standing there. That night, Despite every warning, Chike came to my hut carrying 2 torches. "I'm going into the forest." I stared at him. "Have you lost your mind? If we hide forever, we'll all disappear one by one. We need answers. We need to find that drum." I stepped outside. "You heard what the elders said." I heard frightened old men repeating stories. "And if they're right." He looked me straight in the eye. "Then someone has to stop it." I wanted to refuse. I truly did. But another thought refused to leave my mind. My mother's voice. It sounded so real. If there was even the smallest chance. No, I couldn't think like that, could I? Chake held out a spare torch. "So, are you coming?" I looked toward the black wall of trees. The forest seemed to be waiting, watching, listening. Then, very softly, almost too quietly to notice, a familiar voice drifted out of the darkness. "Obi, come home." I felt my feet move before my mind did. The curse of the talking drum. Everyone who heard it disappeared. "Obi," the voice floated through the darkness once more. "So you've finally come." My fingers tightened around the torch until my knuckles turned white. "No," I whispered to myself. "That isn't my mother." Chike grabbed my arm. "Did you hear it too?" I nodded, but it didn't call my name. "It's called yours." We stood frozen at the edge of the forest. Behind us lay the safety of the village. Ahead of us stretched a darkness so deep that even the moonlight refused to enter. "We can still turn back," I said. Chike looked toward the trees. "If we do, who will stop it?" Without another word, he stepped into the forest. I followed. The deeper we walked, the stranger everything became. There were no insects, no birds, not even the sound of leaves moving in the wind. Only silence. Then, boom, the drum. This time the sound did not seem distant. It echoed beneath my feet, inside my chest, inside my head. I covered my ears. It made no difference. "It isn't outside," Chike whispered. "It's inside us." Another beat rolled through the forest. Boom, then voices. Hundreds of them. Some laughed, some cried, some begged for help, some whispered names over and over again. I recognized one immediately. Obi, my mother's voice. "I've been waiting." Tears blurred my vision. "I know you're not real," I said through clenched teeth. The voice answered gently. "Then why are you crying?" I had no answer. We finally reached a clearing. In its center stood an enormous ancient tree. Its roots twisted above the earth like giant snakes. Hanging between 2 roots was a drum. It was larger than any drum I had ever seen. Its dark surface looked almost alive. Every beat rippled across it, as though something beneath the skin struggled to escape. No one stood beside it. No drummer. Yet it continued to play. Boom. Around it, people. Dozens of them. Men, women, children. They stood perfectly still. Their eyes were open. Their faces wore peaceful smiles. "Dyke," I whispered. The missing hunter. He was there. So was Chike's uncle, the herbalist, the firewood gatherer, every missing villager. They looked alive, but none of them moved. "They're breathing," Chike whispered. "Why don't they answer us?" He ran toward his uncle. "Uncle Kanu." No response. He grabbed the man's shoulder. The body slowly turned. The smile remained, but the eyes were completely empty, as black as the night around us. Chike stumbled backward in horror. "What happened to them?" Then the drum answered, not with another beat, with words. "You came." Its voice sounded like hundreds of voices speaking together. "You still hunger. You still grieve. You still wish for yesterday." The ground trembled beneath us. The roots of the ancient tree began crawling across the earth, like living snakes. One wrapped around Dyke's ankle, another around the herbalist's wrist. They were not prisoners. They were being fed into the tree. I felt my stomach twist. This tree, grandmother's words returned to me. It invites them, not to another world, to itself. The drum spoke again. "I never forced anyone. They came willingly." A root slithered toward me. "You miss your mother." Another wrapped around my foot. "I can return her." I shut my eyes. "No, you only have to stay." Images filled my mind. My mother is smiling, holding me, calling me by name. "I've missed you, Obi." For one terrible moment, I wanted to believe. I wanted to stay. Then another memory surfaced. Grandmother slapping me. It borrows the voices you trust. My eyes snapped open. You are a liar, the drum thundered. The clearing shook. Every motionless villager slowly lifted their heads toward me at the same time, their empty eyes fixed on mine. Then, they all spoke together. Stay. My heart nearly stopped. Chike was still trying to free his uncle. The roots climbed higher around his legs. Obi, he shouted. Help me. I swung my machete. One root split apart. A thick black liquid spilled onto the ground. The drum roared, not in anger, in pain. It can hurt, I shouted. Chike looked toward the drum. The drum! We rushed forward. Roots burst from the earth in every direction. One caught my shoulder. Another wrapped around my waist. I hacked at them wildly. Each cut made the drum's voice weaker. Do not leave. You belong with those you love. I reached the drum. Up close, I noticed strange markings carved across its surface. Names. Hundreds of names. Some were ancient. Others were fresh. One name had only just begun to appear. Obi. Fear surged through me. It had already chosen me. With every ounce of strength I possessed, I raised the machete. The drum whispered one last time. What if she really is waiting? My hands trembled. Then I remembered my grandmother. The village. Everyone is still alive. I screamed and drove the blade into the center of the drum. A deafening crack exploded through the forest. The drum split open. Instead of wood, dark smoke poured from inside. Thousands of voices screamed at once. The roots released their grip. The motionless villagers collapsed to the ground. The tree began to die before our eyes. Branches withered. Leaves turned to ash. The earth shook violently. Run! Chike yelled. We dragged as many people as we could. The others slowly woke, confused and weak. Behind us, the ancient tree collapsed with a thunderous crash. Then, silence. Complete silence. For the first time in many days, the drum was gone. By sunrise, the survivors reached Umu Nnadi. Some remembered nothing. Others remembered hearing the voices of loved ones. Many never spoke again. Grandmother embraced me so tightly I could barely breathe. I knew you'd come home. I looked into her eyes. I almost didn't. She nodded sadly. I know. The village never rebuilt the path leading to that clearing. The elders declared the place forbidden forever. Years passed. Children once again laughed in the streets. Harvests returned. Peace slowly healed old wounds. People believed the curse had ended. So did I. Until one rainy evening, I visited the graves of my parents. As I stood there in silence, a little boy walked past, carrying firewood. He suddenly stopped. He smiled. Then he whispered, "Mother." A cold wind swept across the cemetery, from somewhere deep inside the distant forest, so faint that I almost convinced myself I had imagined it. A single sound rolled across the hills. Boom. I did not wait to hear another. I ran, and I have never gone back. If you ever find yourself walking through an old forest, and you hear a drum that no one else seems to notice, do not answer the voice that calls your name, even if it sounds like the person you have loved most. Especially then, because some curses do not hunt with claws or teeth. They hunt with memory. If this story kept you on edge, let me know in the comments. Would you have followed the voice or walked away? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Fable Throne, and turn on notifications so you never miss another dark tale hidden in the shadows.